Everyone in the small village of Dharipur knew Ayla, the quiet orphan girl who survived on scraps and kindness. Her parents had died when she was only 50 and since then she lived in a tiny mud hut that barely kept out the rain. But Ayla wasn't weak. She worked in the fields under the burning sun, washed clothes for neighbors until her fingers ached, and earned just enough coins to stay alive. Still, villagers talked behind her back. A girl without a family is a burden, the elders whispered. She needs someone to control her before she becomes a problem. So when a dusty traveler named Zaid wandered into Dharipur looking for simple labor, the elders finally saw their solution: a girl nobody wanted, a man who needed shelter. To them it was perfect. They called Ayla to the council hut. Her heart trembled when she heard the decision. "You will marry this man," the head elder declared, not even looking at her face. "It is for your own good." Ayla stepped back, voice shaking. "I don't even know him. Please, give me some time. Let me choose my own future." But the elder's eyes were cold. "You have no parents," another elder said bluntly. "No protection. A husband is the only future you have." Her voice broke. "This isn't fair." Zaid watched silently. His clothes were old, his sandals worn, his face humble. He looked like a man with nothing, just another wanderer passing through poverty. The elders didn't ask his opinion. They didn't care about hers. The marriage was arranged for the next morning. That night Ayla cried until dawn. She wasn't afraid of Zaid. She was afraid of losing the little freedom she had left. She thought her life, her dreams, were over forever. But destiny had prepared a different plan. The wedding was simple: a torn red cloth for Ayla, a borrowed kurta for Zaid, a few stale sweets. No music, no joy. Afterwards, Zaid walked her to her small hut. The moment they were alone, Ayla spoke softly. I never wanted this. I don't hate you, but I feel trapped." Zaid nodded gently. "I know, and you deserve better than what they forced on you. But Ayla, I will never harm you. I will never control you. You have my promise." His tone was calm, respectful, nothing like what she expected. Then a few days later, everything changed. At dawn, the village woke to a thunderous roar. Engines, tires and armed guards flooding the streets. Black luxury SUVs rolled into Dharipur, shocking everyone. Doors swung open, and elite security officers stepped out. Villagers panicked. Who are these people? What do they want in Dharipur? Then the lead guard bowed deeply to Zaid. "Sir, your board is waiting. The helicopter is ready to take you back to the capital." The elders froze. Ayla stared in disbelief. Zaid, the poor traveler they forced on her, slowly removed his dusty shawl. Underneath was a watch worth more than the village, a ring engraved with a royal crest, and a face they suddenly recognized from the news. He wasn't a poor traveler. He was Zaid Al-Rahman, one of the youngest secret billionaires in the country. Ayla gasped. Her life wasn't ending. It was just beginning. The wedding was painfully simple. No music, no celebration, not even a smile on the bride's face. Ayla stood stiffly, wrapped in a faded red cloth someone had donated at the last moment. Her hands trembled, but she kept her head down, hiding the fear swirling in her eyes. Zaid stood beside her, wearing old clothes and muddy shoes. His beard was rough, his hair uncombed. He didn't speak unless someone asked him a direct question. Villagers gathered around, whispering loudly enough for Ayla to hear. Poor girl, married to an even poorer man. They'll starve together. Watch. Misery marries misery. What else could come from this? Ayla swallowed her tears. The elders performed the ceremony quickly, not out of respect. But to finish their problem, no one congratulated her. No one hugged her. To the village, she was simply a burden that had finally been pushed onto someone else. But Zaid, he wasn't like them. He kept turning toward her, his eyes soft, not pitying, not judging, just gentle. When a cold breeze hit her, he quietly removed his scarf and wrapped it around her shoulders without saying a word. When she stumbled over a loose stone, he reached out instantly to steady her. When the elders offered the only chair to him, he refused and guided Ayla toward it instead. Yet Ayla kept her distance. Too many people had hurt her. Too many had pretended to care. Why would this stranger be any different? After the ceremony ended, they walked together toward Ayla's tiny mud hut at the far end of the village. The roof sagged. The walls had cracks wide enough for wind to slip through. Inside there was only one broken cot, a clay pot, and a tattered blanket. Zaid stopped at the doorway. "You live here?" he asked quietly. Ayla nodded, looking down, embarrassed by her poverty, as if it was her fault. Zaid stepped inside and touched the fragile wall, his expression shifting in ways she couldn't read. Then he turned to her. "Then I will live here too," he said. "I won't let you carry this life alone." Ayla didn't know what to say. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not with kindness, not with responsibility, not with heart. That night she noticed something strange. Zaid moved with an elegance that didn't match his appearance. He handled her clay cup as if it were made of glass. He sat with his back straight, as though raised with discipline. His vocabulary was refined, his tone calm and educated. When he prayed before sleeping, his voice carried a grace she had never heard from any traveler or laborer. Even the way he placed his shoes neatly by the door. It felt practiced, habitual, gentle. Ayla watched him with cautious curiosity. Who lives like this? Certainly not a poor wanderer. But she brushed the thought away. It was impossible. In Dharipur, poverty clung to everyone like dust. He was poor, just like her. Or so she believed. Little did she know. Zaid was the one person in the entire village hiding a truth so big, it would soon change her life forever. Days turned into weeks, and the villagers slowly began to notice something unusual about the quiet traveler named Zaid. He worked harder than anyone in Dharipur. At sunrise, he was repairing Ayla's broken roof, balancing on bamboo poles, tightening ropes, sealing holes with clay so the rain would never leak in again. By noon, he was digging deep into the dry soil, building a brand new water tank so Ayla wouldn't have to carry heavy pots for hours. By evening, he moved from house to house, fixing broken tools, sharpening knives, mending wooden doors, adjusting water wheels, never asking for payment. Whenever someone tried to hand him money, he smiled gently and said, "Kindness doesn't need a price." Slowly, the villagers who once judged him fell silent. Then they began respecting him. Some even admired him. But Ayla, she stayed cautious. She appreciated his kindness, yes, but she didn't allow herself to trust so easily. Years of abandonment had built a wall around her heart. But everything changed one evening. Zaid had gone to fetch water from the well before sunset. The sky glowed orange as Ayla began tidying their little hut. While sweeping, she noticed Zaid's old brown bag lying open near the cot. The bag was usually closed tightly, almost too tightly. Today the flap rested loose. Curiosity tugged at her. Inside, she saw a small leather notebook with a polished golden crest embossed on the cover. Her eyebrows rose. This was no ordinary item. Nobody in the village owned something this fine. She opened it casually, and the world stopped. It wasn't a notebook. It was a bank book. Her pulse raced as she scanned the numbers, line after line after line of deposits. So large, she couldn't even pronounce the full amount. Her lips trembled. "Billions?" she whispered. "No, this can't be real. What is this?" Just then she heard footsteps outside. The door curtain lifted. Zaid entered the hut, water pot in hand. He froze the moment his eyes fell on the open bank book in Ayla's hands. A long, heavy silence filled the room, the kind that makes the air feel thick and unbreathable. Finally, Zaid set the pot down slowly and spoke. "Now you know." Ayla stepped back as if the bank book might burn her. "You're rich?" she whispered. "No, this must be a mistake." "You're a billionaire?" Zaid nodded weakly. "I am." "But why?" she asked, trembling. "Why live like a poor man? Why sleep in a mud hut? Why marry me?" Zaid exhaled deeply, emotion tightening his voice. "Because I was tired," he said softly. "Tired of people pretending to care. Tired of fake smiles. Tired of greed. Everywhere I went, people saw money, not me." He looked at her with gentle honesty. "But when I came to this village, I saw you. A girl with nothing, but full of dignity, courage, and heart. I wanted to help you. Not as a billionaire, not as a man with power, just as a human being. Ayla's eyes filled with tears. All her life she had been treated like she was worthless. But this man, this secret billionaire, looked at her as if she was the only person who ever mattered. And for the first time in her life, Ayla felt truly seen. The next morning, just as the sun stretched over the fields, a deep rumbling echoed through Dharipur. Villagers paused mid-work, shielding their eyes as a luxury black SUV, shiny, massive, and completely out of place, rolled into their dusty streets. When it stopped, the doors opened with a polished click. Elegant men in perfectly tailored suits stepped out. And then, unbelievably, they bowed to Zaid. "Sir," one of them said urgently, "we finally found you. Your company is waiting. Your board is worried. Please return immediately." The entire village froze. "Sir? Board? Company?" Mouths hung open. Sickles dropped from hands. Mothers pulled their children closer, whispering in confusion. Ayla stood beside Zaid, heart pounding, still trying to understand the truth she had uncovered the night before. The men opened a sleek leather folder. Inside were documents, licenses, identity cards, and photos, everything pointing to one impossibly shocking truth. Zaid wasn't just wealthy. He was Zaid Al-Rahman, the secretive owner of Al-Rahman Industries, a company whispered about in newspapers, known for its technology, hospitals, and charitable foundations. One of the wealthiest businessmen in the entire region. Villagers gasped loudly. That poor traveler was a billionaire. We made him live in a mud hut? We forced Ayla to marry him? Panic spread through the crowd like wildfire. The elders who once treated Ayla like an unwanted burden rushed forward. Their voices shook as they bowed low. "Forgive us, Ayla. We didn't know. We never would have." Ayla stepped back from them, her face calm but firm. For years she had endured their coldness, their judgment, their cruelty. Now they wanted forgiveness because she was suddenly worthy in their eyes. "Respect," Ayla said clearly, her voice carrying across the silent village, "should not come only when someone becomes wealthy." The elders lowered their heads ashamed. And for the first time in her life, Ayla felt something powerful bloom in her chest. Strength. Zaid looked at her with pride, admiration shining in his eyes. Then he turned toward the men in suits. "I'm not leaving," he said steadily, "without my wife." The men exchanged glances. They were used to Zaid disappearing, making unpredictable decisions, shocking the board. But this was different. One of them stepped forward carefully. "Sir, arrangements can be made. We can escort you both. Everything you need will be prepared." Zaid nodded once, but then he turned to Ayla, slowly, gently. "Ayla, I won't force you," he said softly. "You've been forced enough in your life. If you choose to stay here, I will stay too. If you choose to leave, I will build a new world with you." Ayla felt her throat tighten. All her life, decisions had been made for and her. This was the first time someone had asked what she wanted. The villagers waited. The men in suits waited. Even the wind seemed to pause. Ayla looked into Zaid's eyes. The man who had worked beside her, cared for her, respected her long before she knew his truth. Her answer would change both their lives forever. Within a single week, Ayla's entire world transformed. Zaid arranged everything: documents, security clearances, transportation. And for the first time in her life, Ayla left the dusty roads of Dharipur behind and stepped into the vibrant, towering city she had only heard about in stories. When the gates of Zaid's mansion opened, her breath caught. It wasn't just big, it was gigantic, larger than her entire village, with shining marble floors, tall glass windows, fountains, and gardens filled with flowers she didn't even know existed. Servants bowed to her. Designers presented her with clothes. Chefs brought meals she could barely pronounce. But Ayla stayed Ayla. Humble, soft-spoken, kind to every person she met. Guard, maid, driver, cook. Whenever someone tried to treat her like royalty, she would smile and say quietly, "I know what it feels like to be forgotten. I will never treat anyone that way. Zaid kept every promise he had made. I will never let you live in pain again, he said, and he meant it. He built a study room for her, filled with books. He hired teachers to help her learn reading, writing, and skills she never had the chance to develop. He encouraged her dreams. He listened to her fears. He protected her from every shadow of her past. And slowly, Ayla blossomed. The world eventually learned about their incredible love story. Photographs of the billionaire and his gentle wife spread across newspapers and television screens. People everywhere were shocked, curious, fascinated. A billionaire married a poor orphan girl. Who is she? Why would he choose her? Reporters gathered outside their mansion, begging for interviews. One afternoon, during a global press conference, a bold reporter finally asked, "Mr. Al-Rahman, you could have married anyone in the world. Why her? Why Ayla?" Zaid didn't hesitate. He smiled, turned toward Ayla, and said with pride, "Because she saw my heart before she saw my wealth. She treated me like a human being, not a bank account. And in a world full of greed, that purity is priceless." Ayla's eyes watered as she stood beside him, holding his hand. For the first time in her life, she wasn't invisible. She was valued, cherished, loved. She once believed she had no future, not even a choice. But destiny had written a story far more beautiful than she ever dared to imagine. From a broken mud hut to a place where she finally felt safe. From being treated as a burden to becoming the heart of a billionaire's world, Ayla's life became nothing less than a miracle. And standing beside Zaid, she finally whispered the truth she had always feared to believe. "I was never meant to be forgotten. I was always meant to be found."